Hi, everybody, and welcome to the virtual Fall Family Conference with CurePSP. I am Jessica Shurer. I am the Director of Clinical Affairs and Advocacy here. And today I'm going to be talking to you about the topic of navigating care across the disease journey. Now, when we had our family conference in person a couple of months ago, this was actually a discussion group that I led. And so I sort of based what I want to share with you today on what I learned from people in that room and what you all have taught me. I do want to note that journey, I recognize that journey has become kind of a buzzword-ish in healthcare in recent years. And that word may or may not resonate with you as you reflect on your experience with living with either PSP or CBD or MSA. But when I think about all that I've learned from the community over the years, I feel like it defines it well. Because for many, there's a period of time between symptoms sort of slowly starting until getting the right diagnosis and right information. And then after that, it becomes about learning about the disease and adapting to changes as needed, trying to keep up with things, reflecting back on the years leading up to the diagnosis, incorporating the diagnosis into your life while also not letting it define you, and making sense out of it, bringing in your skills and your experiences and your beliefs from your whole lifetime before the diagnosis. So, across all of that, there's hardship and joy, there's grief and love, there's confusion and understanding, there's vulnerability and empowerment. All of that evolves over time, and all of that to say, when I look at it that way, I feel like journey is a really good word for it. I also want to say there's so much more that I could talk about that I'm not able to get to today. It's a complex subject, and there's a lot of questions and common challenges and tips and resources that I'm going to talk about, but they're the tip of the iceberg, right? But I just wanted to share some food for thought based on lessons from you all, as well as some of the big resources that CurePSP has and that go beyond CurePSP that I want to make sure you all are aware of. So a big part of navigating the disease journey is first understanding the diagnosis that you are personally impacted by. It still takes an average of 1.5 to 3 years of navigating the healthcare system after symptoms have started before being given the most accurate clinical diagnosis of PSP, CBD, or sometimes CBS or MSA. So that is a long time to fight for answers and information and to understand what it is that you are having to contend with. And then once you're given the diagnosis, there is a lot to learn. Unfortunately, most people have not heard of these diagnoses. So, and a lot of times you might have been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease or something else before, and then it might switch. And then you're faced with a diagnosis that even a lot of healthcare providers haven't heard of. So this is a learning process. You learn about it when you're first diagnosed, but then you have to keep learning about it as things evolve over time, and also as you find yourself educating your own healthcare providers sometimes. And sometimes you might even need to unlearn other diagnoses, like if you had been living with the diagnosis of Parkinson's disease for a year or two first, and what you thought you knew about yourself and your diagnosis and your body and your plan and all of that, and sort of letting go of some of that, keeping what you need, but letting go of some of it, and then incorporating this new one. So a few questions for you as points of reflection. Thinking about what were some of the biggest challenges in getting the diagnosis for you and your family, and how did you overcome those challenges, or how are you still overcoming them? Asking yourself, what have I learned about this disease? You're probably going to surprise yourself with how much knowledge you already have on it, whether you're 2 months into the diagnosis or 10 years into the diagnosis. You're really an expert in it. And then also asking yourself at this point, what are the unanswered questions that I still have, so that you can maybe write them down and explore those and get them answered. So a few big resources that we have at CurePSP, again, that I just want to make sure you're aware of. One is called PSP CBD MSA 101. This is an educational support series offered over a period of 3 days, specifically for people who are newer to one of these diagnoses. Sometimes it's people with the diagnosis or care partners or both who attend. They're all virtual, and we do offer them every other month. So you can look at our events calendar on our website to see when the next one is and register for that. Also, we have a variety of printed and downloadable educational resources for you. A really important one are our Some Answers booklets, which we did just update this past year. So they're in the format of frequently asked questions, question and answer. And I hope that these will serve as resources for you to answer some of the big questions that you might have. And they are diagnosis specific, as well as a variety of other, resources on our website that you can tap into. And then we have so much good educational content on our YouTube channel. I really can't stress this enough. So if you go to youtube.com/CurePSP, you can also get this through our website. We have all of our archived webinars and family conferences on there on topics like managing urinary changes and vision changes and swallowing changes and sessions from our wellness workshop last year. So those might be good resources for you to answer, to get some of your currently unanswered questions answered. Another big part of navigating your disease journey is building the team. Who I have on here might be helpful for some of you. Not everyone needs all of these people on your team, and I am sure that I am missing some, but I wanted to name some of the big ones. Thinking about your medical care team, with usually your neurologist being the main one who's driving the management of your symptoms and diagnosis. And then also your rehabilitation therapist, hopefully a clinical social worker, nursing professionals. And then you might have other ones as needed, palliative care specialist, urologist, ophthalmologist. Again, I know I'm missing some. Thinking about your personal support system. Who is your main partner in this? Do you have a clearly identified care partner? Can you pull in adult children or maybe even grandchildren, other family members, neighbors to do something like mow your lawn? And even thinking about your neighbors, perhaps people you wouldn't normally think about as being part of your support system, but who may have offered to help. And can they do something like pick up milk for you from the grocery store or mow your lawn? They're all important people to have in your support system. And then there's also professional team members in this support system as well. So that might be professional caregivers, long-term care, like if you're thinking about or perhaps already living in something like assisted living or a nursing home, adult day, who can help to manage or look at your finances or think about your assets and your legal decisions. Again, not everyone needs all of these, but it's worth thinking about who is on your care team, what roles are they playing. If you haven't been referred to some of these, the more medical ones especially, it's worth asking your neurologist. Just because they haven't referred you doesn't mean that you might not benefit from that. So I would have that as a conversation with them. But at the end of the day, no matter who is on your care team, the point is that it's important to have a team of people who have your back and who you can turn to. So reflecting on, what are the roles of the different people in my current care team? Are there areas where maybe I need some more support as I navigate all of this? And Who are the people I can turn to for what in that? And then also thinking about yourself as at the center of that care team and being your own best advocate. So, what is a time that you advocated for yourself with your care needs? Again, remembering that you are at the center. It is patient-centered care, it is family-centered care, it is person-centered care. You have the right to change providers if someone is not really having great chemistry with you. You have the right to make requests. You have the right to advocate for your needs. Also, a tip here, come prepared for your appointments. Every time you go, especially your neurology appointments, there's a lot of questions thrown at you. They do your exam, they go over your medications, all of that. It's hard. It might be hard in that moment to remember everything you've wanted to bring up to your provider. So come prepared with a list of maybe 3 to 5 of your priority questions or concerns or requests from them. It'll be so helpful so that you don't have that moment when you're in the car and you're like, oh, shoot, I forgot to ask that question. So some more resources for building your care team that we have at CurePSP. One is the CurePSP Quality of Life Respite Grant. These are grants that support 60 hours of professional in-home care. The next application that we accept applications for that on a quarterly basis. We're able to support 20 families per quarter. So I definitely encourage you to look into that because professional respite care, getting some time away from caregiving duties, and also for the person with the diagnosis to have companionship and additional support is huge. We also have our Centers of Care Network, which is 33 specialized medical centers across the US and Canada, where they have special services and a lot of them research and support services for people with PSP and CBD and many for MSA as well. They are more likely to be able to offer a lot of these other services that I mentioned to build your care team. And if not, they usually know who in your community would be good to refer you to. I also have to recognize there that not everyone lives near a CurePSP center of care or has access to a CurePSP center of care. And that's something that we're working on. We're trying to expand that resource. We're partnering with the Parkinson's Foundation. It's important to be aware of other movement, behavioral neurology centers across the country and beyond. And we're really trying to build this network and understand what services and resources look like for our community so that when you call us, we can refer you to the right care. Also on our website, we have all updated fact sheets. So I just put 2 up here right now. One is on understanding palliative care and hospice, and one is on understanding professional long-term care. We have them on other topics as well, but I wanted to highlight these because they specifically address options to build your healthcare team. We're also very close to producing one on considerations for professional in-home care. So look for that on our website very soon. Planning ahead. This is huge for these diseases. It's also very hard with these diseases. Probably the number one question we get is what to expect. And then how can I plan for that? Going back to your care team, there's so much overlap here. Thinking about who can help you plan ahead. If that's too overwhelming for you to do, perhaps by yourself. So thinking about people like an elder law attorney or a financial planner or a geriatric care manager. So some of the biggest things with planning ahead are really thinking about your home space and maximizing safety and quality of life in your home space, and if that is the right fit for you or not. You might need to make some modifications for the home in order to age in place successfully there. Thinking about what kinds of important conversations you need to have now that will help you down the road. These conversations need to happen early and beforehand. The reason I'm really stressing all of this is because, unfortunately, we can't predict what symptoms someone's going to develop or how fast someone's going to progress or how much time somebody has left, or what end of life looks like. These are all questions that we get really frequently. To say that it is frustrating and scary that we can't answer those questions is an understatement. But there are things that we can think about now, like the home space, and put into place now based on what we know about how these diseases typically progress, that can help to make life easier down the road. So having these conversations early is key. Too often people want to explore and discuss these things when they feel more ready, or when these changes come up. And by that time, sometimes it's too late, or sometimes it's sort of this, crisis moment, and you have to put a lot of things into place at once. So thinking about like when to get a wheelchair, that takes time to get evaluated for the right wheelchair. Making modifications to your home, that takes time. Deciding on if you want to donate your brain to science or not, there's steps that have to be taken in order to put that into place. So think about all of that, and how I can't stress enough about having those conversations early. I don't think I've ever met someone in my years of doing this where they said, I shouldn't have had these conversations and made these decisions early. Another little tip is write out a weekly calendar. You can even make this big. You can hang it on the refrigerator or the wall, but something to say every day, here's what we've got going on this week. So that way, if there's cognitive challenges that make sort of organization a challenge, that can really help with that. It can also help to combat apathy, because if you put in there time for exercise and time to socialize, and who's going to come visit you and when you have appointments and activities in the house and activities outside of the house, it sort of helps to get somebody into a routine. And then also keeping all important documents in one place, and having copies of those documents, and making sure that there's somebody else who knows where those documents are and might even have copies for themselves. So a couple of points of reflection here are, when thinking about the future with this disease, what feelings does this bring up for me? And allowing yourself to feel those feelings and normalizing them. What is in my control? What do I still want to accomplish? I think that's important, because there can be so much uncertainty that grounding yourself in what is still in your control can be very empowering. Asking, are there important conversations that I want and I need to have? When should I have those? How about scheduling a time to have that conversation, or a family meeting? How do I define quality of life, or a life well lived, or comfort, or dignity? These are very personal questions that only you can answer, and they help to inform some of these decisions that you might need to make now or down the road. And then having them, it gives peace of mind that you had them, and puts everyone on the same page. So a few resources around all of this. One is a brand new medical alert wallet card that we just produced. It says, I have a rare brain disease called, and we have one for PSP, one for CBD, and one for MSA. It gives some of the main symptoms. On the back, you get to write your information, your primary emergency contact, your neurologist information, other medical conditions. And on the inside, it has medications, considerations for that diagnosis. So medications that should really be avoided or taken with caution. This is important to have in your purse, in your pocket, in your car, in your wallet, something like that. So if something happens, it's a really easy way to explain, especially in an emergency situation, what you have. We also have a grab and go document, which we also just updated, which is meant for hospitalizations. You can download this on our website. You fill it out with a lot of similar stuff, but it goes beyond this, of your main medications and medical conditions, and your symptoms and your care needs, your main healthcare providers and contact information to give it to a healthcare provider in an emergency situation. You can also learn about our brain donation assistance program on our website. We also have something called Free Will. We've partnered with them where if you want to create a will or update your will, you can do this completely free. And you can learn about that on our website or by going to freewill.com/CurePSP. And then 5 Wishes is a great option for healthcare power of attorney and living will as an advance directive to help you decide who you want to help make medical decisions for you and what your beliefs are around those medical decisions. And also on our website, we have a list of adaptive equipment and assistive devices. And we have something called Prepare to Care, which is a workbook to give to family members or to healthcare providers or professional caregivers. That's coming very soon. And then the last thing that I want to talk to you all about today, as far as navigating the disease journey, is attending to the whole self. So this is where you can reflect on things like, how have I been attending to my emotional, psychological, and spiritual well-being with this diagnosis? And that is because so much of this diagnosis can be focused on the physical aspects of it. We have to step aside and think about what are the other parts of this that I need to address. So it's my whole health. Asking yourself, what is a piece of advice that I would give to someone else with this diagnosis? So another way of thinking about what have I learned and what do I wish someone told me when I was first diagnosed? Asking, what is something I've learned about myself through this experience? Perhaps strengths or skills that you didn't know you had or that you've gained. And then what still brings me joy? Or another way of thinking about this, a little different though, is what's something that inspires me, that I find beautiful, that I can turn to? I think these are nice questions to help make sense of your journey as you navigate all of this and find hope too. So some resources for this, finding a mental health therapist who you can process all of this with and build coping skills. Thinking about your spiritual needs, maybe you have a religious or spiritual leader or community that you can turn to, or someone like a chaplain, which some healthcare centers have and some hospices have, that are non-denominational and help to address the more existential and spiritual questions and angst that may have come up for you. Of course, exercise, nutrition, and sleep. Those are all easier said than done, but maybe there are people who can help guide you to better exercise, nutrition, and sleep so you can attend to those aspects of your health. And then reminding yourself that you are your own whole person, whole and dynamic person outside of a care partner or outside of a person with one of these diagnoses. At the end of this, you are really your own best resource for attending to your whole self as you navigate this disease journey. But it takes self-awareness, it takes intention to check in and to take these steps. And then support groups gets its own whole slide because it's just such an amazing resource that really spans all of this. In addition to 38 regional support groups for PSP, CBD, and MSA that we are aware of and we help to manage and support, we have 16 virtual national, they're really international support groups. Some are for care partners, some are for people with the diagnosis, some are for both. There's diagnosis-specific ones, gender-specific ones, adult children, grandchildren. I mean, you can look at this list and on our website. But this is probably the most powerful resource that you can tap into in this disease journey because it spans everything else I talked about today. It is a place to connect with other people who understand what you're going through, and there's just nothing like that. It's a place where you can learn about the disease, build your care team, find out about resources that you can tap into now and down the road, as well as attend to the whole self through decreasing a sense of isolation and sharing experiences with other people who understand. Thank you all so much for being here today and for learning about yourself and the diagnosis and all of these resources, and we'll talk soon.